Hi, good evening, and welcome to another Blues Project podcast. So I'm told to remember this every time we do one of these. Please hit the subscribe button and press like. Okay, apparently that's what we have to do. Tonight we're joined by some people who are sort of well in and well up with the Justice for the 21 campaign, which is there to remember and recall and stick up for the families and victims of the Birmingham Pub Bombings in 1974. The four of us are involved tonight, have all been involved in different things regarding the campaign. And first, I'd like to introduce Julie Hambleton, whose sister Maxine was murdered on the night. And well, what can we say, Julie? How are you, love?
I'm fine, thank you. I think in the bigger scheme of things, I'm fine, thank you. I'm as well as can be expected. I can't complain. Fighting justice or fighting for justice is hard work, but it's work that's worthy of those who don't have a voice to do the fighting. So that's who we are, and that's what we do. How are
Definitely.
you, Steve?
I'm fine, thank you, Julie. I'm good, all good here. And also with us tonight is Pete Hannon. Pete, who's also been involved with us on the project massively, he's part of the project team and also with Justice for 21 as well. Pete plays a really big part. We all love him. Pete, how you doing, mate?
Very good. Thank you very much, Steve. And hello, Julie.
Hello, Pete. It's lovely to
You're
see you
all
again.
right. All right.
Good. And also with us tonight, who's someone who's been involved a lot with this, really sort of behind the scenes, really, which is what Beck does. We call her the silent assassin for a reason, but we make it speak now and again. So, Beck, how are you?
I'm okay, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah. So we're gonna have just a little kick about and talk about where we are with things. Julie, how do you see things overall at the moment from a point of view of the Justice Group?
Um, well, that's a loaded question. But to bring everyone up to date, first of all, I would like to thank you, Steve, Becky, Peter, and everyone else who's involved in the BCFC project and the ex-players for their fantastic support, and also to your followers for writing to their MPs on our behalf to try and get the Home Secretary to give us a statutory public inquiry. With reference to, before we came on, Peter was asking me about a letter that one of our other supporters had received from their MP, where Tom Tugendhat, the security minister, who we had a meeting with last October, had said in the letter to, I think her name's Wendy Morton, the MP, that they have been in communication with us. Well, that is true to a point. We had a meeting with them. They said that they would write to us, and that we just kept waiting all the time. You'd think 50 years was long enough, wouldn't you? I mean, really, you really would think 50 years was long enough. No, it isn't. Not for the British establishment, who appear to have an awful lot to hide. And Tom Tugendhat wrote to us because I was pushing through the help of Andy Street at the West Midlands Mayor, who I've got, whether you love him or loathe him, he has been exceptional where our campaign is concerned. He's done everything and more that he promised to do. And he's a shining star behind the scene, really, within the Conservatives for us. And I wrote to him in January saying that we're still waiting for a response from Tom Tugendhat. And anyway, because long story short, that he wrote to us basically saying we're going to look into your concerns and your. They word it in such a way as to say absolutely nothing. It's all rhetoric. But it's for our request for a statutory public inquiry. and they said that you can either respond to this letter or not. We're going to have this discussion. But our legal team did respond, and our legal team actually said to them that it's 50 years and the families deserve to have a public inquiry. And it's time now for them to make a decision, because we've been asking for this now for 10 years. 10 years we've been asking for this, the statutory public inquiry, and they're still dragging their feet. We've heard nothing. We've heard nothing from them since I think our legal team sent the letter early February. We're now in April. And
can I just ask you something about that? And the only reason I want to say this now, sorry to interrupt you, is so that a lot of people will be watching this that don't really understand the situation with the statutory inquiry being put back all the time. Or what is the issue, Julie? Why can't we get this inquiry?
Well, that's a very good question, Steve. I don't know. One could come to the conclusion that they don't want us to have a public inquiry because you see, the thing about a statutory, it's called an NS1, a statutory public inquiry. Now, I'm no lawyer, I'm no solicitor, so we learn every day is a school day. What I understand is with a statutory public inquiry, it gives us, the families, legal representation that's paid for by the state, because we've been refused legal aid over 14 times and continue to be. And it will give us access to files that we've been denied in the past. And these files very well may have an awful lot of information in them that could quite easily answer many of the hundreds of questions that we have that continue and remain unanswered. So the public inquiry, unlike the inquest, the public inquiry will give us access to documents that, one, successive governments have told us do not exist, and we know they do. And two, it will give us access to information that could help us then to try and further for a prosecution. However, you see, it's very, very complex now.
All right. So again, I'm sorry. Just so that we're all dead clear about this, why won't they give us that?
Well, you see, as I said, one can only conclude that the information that we want to gain our hands on has information to do with undercover agents who knew something was going to happen, and the British establishment chose to do nothing. Because at the inquest that we had in 2019, which we had to fight for this inquest. Now, how many families are you aware of whose loved one is murdered, and then you have to fight the very establishment who are meant to be there to represent you are not there, and have tried to block us from just having an inquest. And
you would think that the word statutory would mean something, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, yeah. But the statutory public inquiry, what that actually entails is that it would be judge-led, and we would be able to have input in who sits on the bench. So you can request, I think they're like a chairperson, and you can request these people, you can put forward suggestions, so you know that it's not going to be, and I'll inverted commas, a biased selection of people who will be overseeing the overall running of the public inquiry.
Julie?
Yes? Hello, Pete.
Can I just ask about, with the documents that had that 75-year gagging order on all, I don't know what the legal term is about it.
Yeah.
Now that in itself is obscene, and I'm sure you could actually be able to tell people, the 75 years is an absolute joke. Is some of that 75-year stuff, would that then become available in a public inquiry?
Well, that's a very good question. So we don't know. You see, what people need to understand is I mean, I laugh. It's not funny, but I laugh because I think it's my way of expressing my contempt for the very establishment that's meant to be there to represent us and represent our murdered loved ones. When we were fighting to have our inquest renewed, we had West Midlands Police, the Police Federation, MI5, MI6, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, and even the emergency services. So that's 6 organisations in court, telling our legal team and telling the senior coroner, Louise Hunt, that she had no right to renew the Birmingham Pub Bombings inquest. Now, why would they do that? And on top of that, when we eventually won the right she saw in our favour and we won the right to have the inquest. But then the coroner, who, I mean, there's just so much to talk about. The coroner had just retired. He was the chief coroner of the whole of England and Wales, Peter Thornton, and that he was especially chosen by the Attorney General. So he was flown in to overview, to be the judge on our inquest, and he put the scope, so the methodology of what could be discussed at the inquest. He made the scope so limited that it wasn't worth having an inquest. It was just for instance, we weren't allowed to mention pre-informants. None of the Birmingham 6 were allowed to be mentioned. Paddy Hill told me he was desperate to give evidence because he would have torn the whole thing apart. They weren't allowed. Not only could he not give evidence, they weren't allowed even to be discussed in the inquest. They weren't allowed. We weren't allowed to talk about pre-informant. Number 6. There was 4 things. I can't remember the 4. I'm sorry. But anyway, 6 months prior to us having the inquest, this same coroner had written a paper saying that no one should ever need to judicially review a coroner. So what did we do? We judicially reviewed this coroner because he'd limited the scope so much. It really wasn't worth having the inquest. Cut a very, very long story short, we applied for legal aid. I was refused legal aid. We were all refused legal aid. I was refused legal aid. And I've still got the letter to prove it. And the legal aid agency, remember, they're meant to be impartial and unbiased. They said to me in the letter that because your crowdfunding is going so well, we were begging on the streets, which is illegal in England, is going so well, we suggest you continue down that path, which is implying that begging is the default access to getting legal representation. And the second reason why they were refusing me legal aid was because, quote, we see no merit in your case. Now, that's not for them to make that judgment.
Well, it's prejudicial, isn't it? You know.
Yeah. Why have judges? Why have a jury? Why have courts if the legal aid agency are going to be making such judgment calls? And it was the football fraternity who showed that there was no colour, no religion, and no politics where we're concerned, came together and helped us raise £35,000 in 5 weeks. Because that's how long we had to fight to bring the judicial review. And we won that judicial review. But the coroner, who has no concerns or had any concerns about where to get his money from, he put his hand into a bottomless pit, ironically, of our money, taxpayers' money, and he appealed the decision. So we all had to trample up to London and have a guess who was the judge on the appeal? The Lord Chief Justice himself. We didn't have just any judge. We had the Lord Chief Justice of England and Wales himself. And as soon as he walked in, we knew we'd lost. He didn't even open his mouth. We knew he'd lost. You can just tell. You get to learn. So our legal team said we could either appeal, go to the Supreme Court, but then we would. When the coroner appealed, we had to raise another £35,000.
That's the thing, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, and the football fraternity and beyond came to our aid again. God bless them all. And we lost that. And our legal team said we could appeal, go to the Supreme Court, but then we're looking at a minimum of $250,000. And we thought that's just too much to ask of anybody to try. I mean, we were out on the streets. We were auctioning stuff. People was we had an ex-Valencia football player, Louis, who made us a guitar, and one of our supporters got it signed by ELO and other band players, major band players. And then we auctioned that off, and we were auctioning off books, and people were donating stuff and this, that, and the other. I mean, it really was phenomenal, the support. But we thought we just can't do that. And obviously, it's tiring. It really is. You can't explain how emotionally tiring it is. It wears out. And you see, and that's the point. That's what they try and do. They try and wear you down and wear you out. So the coroner did decide to be a little more flexible. And when I say a little, I mean a little more flexible in his scope. But it was decided we'd just go ahead with what we've got. But at the inquest, MI5 and MI6 were represented, and their legal team told the coroner. Now, this is where it gets very murky and interesting. They told the coroner that they have no documentations, nothing whatsoever. They've looked, they've searched through their digital files, they've searched through all of their manual files, and they don't have that on the biggest mass murder of England's history of the 20th century. They don't have any documentation whatsoever, which we knew was a lie. And we know it's a lie because... So
you think the documentation has been vanished, in other words, like just...
No. Their claim was there was never any documentation.
Oh, I see. Okay, all right.
There was never any documentation.
Yeah.
Nobody was interested in how many times Birmingham had been bombed, because what you got to remember is before the 21st of November 1974, Birmingham had been bombed. I think it was 58 times. Nobody had been hurt, but they'd either been found or decommissioned or had gone off but not hurt anybody, thankfully. And the security services were claiming that there was no documentation at all. And they still claim this to this day. And that's what the Statutory Public Enquiry would give us access to. Now, we know there's documentation, one, because in 1991, when the Birmingham Six were... someone's at my front door. Sorry, can I just... Sorry.
Of course, yeah.
Honestly, it's absolutely crazy. It really is.
Yeah.
The
thing about it is that it's so obviously lies, isn't it? And that's the thing. And they take people for fools. But how has the British public been hoodwinked like this for so long?
Well, I want to come on to that in a bit, but we'll let Julie sort of like...
Okay, sorry. Nobody ever comes to my door. It just bothers one of the other family members. It's to do with the invitations. Anyway, so where was I?
About the documents that you know that...
Oh, yes. When the Birmingham Six won their appeal in 1991, the then Director of Public Prosecutions was Barbara Mills. Now, Barbara Mills, this is in 1991, Barbara Mills placed all of the evidence against the Birmingham Six, not just what was done prior, but of all, they had 3 appeals, of all of their appeals, all the documentation to do with Birmingham Pub Bombings was put under embargo in 1991 for 75 years.
Yeah, fucking crazy that is. Just long enough for everyone to die.
Exactly. So, and then you've got to come forward. How many years is that? Nearly 30 years later, 28 years later, when we go to the inquest in 2019, We've got MI5 and MI6 telling us there is no documentation. Well, we know for a fact there is, because Paddy Hill told us there's a room full of boxes upon boxes upon boxes. Now, we also know there's documentation because when we did the documentary, when we first met Paddy Hill, which was the hardest thing we'd ever done at that point, my brother and I, Brian, but it's the best thing we'd done at that time. Paddy told us about all the documents, but his solicitor, Gareth Pearce, because we went to her office, she had, out of all, I think there's something like, I'm sure he said there's something like 100 boxes. Now, these are boxes of documents, and they're not small boxes, these are big boxes. She had 7 of those boxes in her office when we were there, sifting through them to give us information at that time. That was over 10 years ago now, right?
Sorry, go on. Sorry.
And then to finish off making the point, I mean, there's so much to say, but just to finish off the point about the MI5 and MI6 claiming there is no documentation. One solicitor, Christopher, who lives in London, went to Kew, and he goes to Kew a lot to search through the archives. And he found a file that referred to the Birmingham Pub Bombings that was sealed. And so he wrote to the Freedom of Information to gain access. To cut another very long story short, 2 years it took him to respond and says, no, you can't have access, or it doesn't even exist. And he said, I know it exists because this is the file number. I found it, it's in Kew. Anyway, we took him to court where another barrister, Sam Fowles, were a lovely, lovely fella. He wrote a book, and one of his chapters is based on this case of us taking the Freedom of Information Department to court, and he represented us pro bono, bless him. And at the court case, there was me and George, who lost his dad. This professor from Liverpool Moors University, I can't remember his name, but he specialises in talking about the Troubles, and that's his specialism. And who else should be there but the Northern Ireland office? And we're in there, and I give evidence, and the professor gives evidence. I broke down, and I was saying we need to have access to, all we want is information. Anyway, after about 3 hours, we were kicked out. And the rest was conducted in camera, which means in private. So we and our legal team were thrown out, but the judge and the Freedom of Information Department's legal team and the Northern Ireland offices people were all allowed to stay inside, but we were kicked out. And at the end of it, we were still refused access to this file. So what is it that they've got to hide?
Well, did they admit that the file existed, or were they still saying it didn't?
Yes, yeah, no, it does exist.
Yeah,
but they won't give access to it.
Yeah.
At the court case. Oh yes, when we went to court, they have to. 2 days before we went to court, get this, the FOI forwarded on like 2 pages of information from this file. Now, if you read what was in these 2 pages, because they deemed it safe to do so, it was like saying, oh, well, Julie caught the bus because her car broke down. Mm. I mean, it was so irrelevant, and you think to yourself, what on earth are they hiding? Mm. You know,
you would think that if
but 2, what have they to hide? What is it that they are so scared of the public to learn about that they are so desperate to keep it well and truly hidden? And as a final point, if I can just say this, the legacy bill that was pushed through Parliament, and I mean it was pushed through Parliament, the legacy bill, in essence, and this is no exaggeration, it gives the murderers of our loved ones, of Omar bombing, of the Inniskilling bombing, of Warrington, Brighton, the Wharf, London Wharf, of Ballymurphy, of the Graham Bucky's, I think it was called. I can't remember the Bucky's name. But all the killers who were involved in that, this law gives them amnesty.
Mm. Mm. It's the legacy bill is a fascinating thing when you think about it like that, because you think this is and it's been why was it rushed through like that? Because things are gonna and I know it's all to do with the Northern Ireland issue. What in your view, Julie, why did it run through? Just so people are sort of clear about it.
Well, you'll never they'll never tell you the truth about that. I mean, I wouldn't trust anyone to run the bloody
No.
bank for me.
But in your opinion,
If they did, they'd probably fill it with poison or acid. But in my opinion, it is so that they can quite literally bury and burn the evidence of their predecessors who knew what was going on, allowed mass murder to continue as a way to create chaos and for them to try and put a block on the IRA collecting further. Because what you've got to remember is at the time, the IRA, Birmingham, I don't know if it still is, but at the time, Birmingham was one of the largest Irish communities in the world outside of Ireland. And they had huge supporters for the IRA, and they used to go collecting in a pub up the road from where I live. That they used to go collecting and openly, and you see, an awful lot of people say, "Why did they bomb Birmingham?" Which is a very good question. I mean, no one has the right to kill anybody, but why Birmingham? I mean, we've got no military connections here. There are no military sites, but it was a major hub for collections. And at the same time, Roy Jenkins, who was the Home Secretary at the time in 1974, Roy Jenkins was also a Birmingham MP. And the British establishment was trying to force through a new bill called the Terrorism Act of 1974. But Roy Jenkins thought it was just too draconian, and so he refused to sign it off. The Birmingham Pub Bombings happened, and he signed the bill the very next day, and the funding for the IRA dried up overnight because even staunch IRA supporters were horrified at the loss of life that was created.
It's quite interesting because I know a lot of people that watch this. I know a lot of blues fans, and all of us, me included, have Irish ancestry and family. It's strange at the time how it's not strange. It just happened this way that the Irish community were victimised, weren't they, in a bad way?
Oh yes, vociferously.
Yeah, and they've been so massively supportive of the justice group, haven't they?
Listen. When my brother and I started to overtly campaign over 14 years ago now, it might be longer, one of the things we wanted to try and do in the background was to try and win over the Irish community and to bring them back. Because, I mean, that caused such a fracture down Birmingham's community. It has quite literally taken, I'd say, an easy 40 years for it to start to heal. Yeah. And we hope and we pray every day. People might find this hard to believe, but it is true. Irrelevant as to what your politics are, you didn't kill our loved ones. So why should you carry that weight of what everybody else thought at the time for committing such a heinous crime?
Yeah, I think it was a time when, I mean, I can vaguely remember it, and it was a time, I think, when it was such a shocking act that people were looking for someone to blame.
Yeah.
You know, that 21 people murdered in the city centre, and straight away the IRA mentioned, and straight away the Irish are then other people that are that responsible for it, and obviously it wasn't that at all. And even the people that were arrested very quickly, really, weren't they?
Yeah.
The Birmingham Six. There's another story, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you see, the thing is that I mean, the story is so complex and so detailed. I mean, it really is. I mean, there's so many angles to it. But when the Birmingham Six were arrested, they were in court at the same time as I can't remember if it was the other five or another three of the five who actually did it, and they were let go. Now the thing is that it's believed that they knew who did it in 1975, but they allowed, and the IRA most certainly knew, the provisional IRA knew that the Six hadn't done it. They let them rot in prison for 16 years, and then tried to claim, you know, that they were the heroes that was trying to help to get them out. And nothing could be further from the truth. Paddy Hill did all the fighting himself. He's the one who did all the research. He's the one who did all the writing to all of the MPs, to all of the journalists, to try and put the pressure on for someone to listen to him.
I think it's interesting that you know that we can talk about the Birmingham Six, because I know from just from our group, from stuff I've put into the group, that people are still convinced that the Birmingham Six were
Yes, that there are some family members that still think that they did it, but that's because the press and the police did such a bloody good job. You know, because at the time, remember, you didn't have mobile phones, you didn't have the internet. You didn't have the sort of press coverage that you do to, although mind you, not that you get the press coverage that is required, but things were easier to quite literally bury back then.
And it's amazing how little people are aware of it, really. And I was watching something last week on, I think it's on YouTube, and Peter put it on, of the little walk around he'd done of the memorial, and then of the pubs, you know, and it's unbelievable, but there's no mark, you know, to say that it happened in the pubs. It's just, very difficult to believe.
It's interesting that you say that, because on the 40th memorial, there was a radio.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
It wasn't a disc jockey. He was like a radio presenter. Yeah. A lovely fella. I saw him presenting fishing shows a couple of years ago, so I don't know what he's doing now. Real nice fella. But anyway, the radio channel had paid for a plaque to be made, to be put outside the tavern in the town. What would have been the tavern in the town.
Yeah.
And that they wrote to the owners, and they refused outright to have it put up, and just would have nothing to do with it. Now, what does that tell you?
The thing that amazes me with that, though, is over all these years, with all these cover-ups and everything, that someone hasn't become a whistleblower.
Yeah.
In some way, you know, because to keep the lid on that for 49 years and not get a real leak that would blow it open, it's pretty amazing, isn't it, really? It must be some massive cover-up job for them to... You know what I mean, Julie? You know...
Absolutely, absolutely. But you see, what you've got to remember is that there are so many other cases that you could do parallels with. For instance, the post office sub postmasters, the contaminated blood. We know some of their families, actually. That the one lad, Jason, lost his parents. I mean, when you think about it, Hillsborough. I mean, there are so many to mention. But they have had public inquiries. We haven't.
Well, it's not something we can give up on. I mean, obviously, the statutory public inquiry is a thing that we want, isn't it? This is
Absolutely.
this
Listen,
is the thing that we want, because I just want to get it past everyone that the aim of this isn't to get, you know, getting the Blues involved, getting the Villa involved, getting this involved and that involved. We can't lose sight of the objective, can we?
no. Well, listen, it's got nothing to do with the colour of your team. It's got nothing to do with politics, and it's got nothing to do with religion. Yeah. This is all to do with right and wrong. That's it. And we have been wronged. Our loved ones have been wronged in the worst way, most atrocious way possible. Not only were their lives shortened through no fault of their own, and they were quite literally blown up, but then they've been treated with contempt in their deaths by the very authorities that we pay and who they claim to represent. How can we possibly profess to live in a democratic society where our judicial system was once the book for all to follow? But we're a laughing stock now. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine in America if they decided to bring in a legacy bill that would give the Boston bomber, for instance, an amnesty?
Well, you know the answer to that. You know, I mean,
well exactly. Yeah. But everything in this country seems to just go under people's noses because they're not interested until it happens to them. They're not interested, and that's except I am making a huge generalisation there, except where our supporters are concerned. But it's not our supporters who don't care, and it's not actually the public that don't care. It's the very people who we pay to represent us who don't care. Yeah. None of them have got any balls. They are gutless and spineless, and they are not only protecting their own backs and lining their own pockets, but they're protecting the backs of their predecessors who knew exactly what was going on and signed it off and allowed it to happen and to continue.
Do you think there's still pressure on current MPs regarding their futures if they make a stand in the House of Commons representing people of Birmingham, and say any of the Birmingham MPs? Has any one of them really put the head above the parapet?
There's only one that's really done that, and that's Jess Phillips, and I believe she's my mum's MP. She's definitely my brother's MP, one of my brother's MPs. But she was the only Labour, she was the only MP, irrelevant to what political party she belongs to read out the names of the 21 in Parliament ever. Ever. That's and that was done, I think that was done quite a few years ago.
So has Jess lost her teeth at all now, or is she still going for it?
What do you mean?
Well, in terms of, you know, is she?
No. She's trying to help us to get all of the Birmingham MPs, irrelevant as to what political party they belong to sign a letter to go to the Home Secretary to push for us to have a public inquiry. My own MP, Khalid Mahmood, in the beginning, he was very good. He mentioned our case once or twice in Parliament, but I write to him and he doesn't respond.
That's crazy.
Can I just butt in here now, Steve? It's just basically about, you know, you're on about MPs and that. There's sort of like, there's another subplot going on now, is that it's become the norm for people to expect, oh, MPs, oh, they lie. And it's just brushed.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we've seen it so much during COVID, didn't we?
This hasn't happened overnight, or hasn't. You can't tell me that it hasn't been planned, this narrative. If there's not a day goes by without some sort of like little scandal. Oh, he's lining his pockets, he's lining his pocket, he's done that, he's done that. You know, Matt Hancock's flipping whatever. You can take it back. It's slowly and slowly. It's ground people down that people don't believe a word that comes out of the ears. And people have become blasé rather than, hang on, you're not representing me. You're not doing what I put my little X on the thing to do. Yeah. Oh, you're just a liar who's thing. And it's just become acceptable.
So you think really we've like lost our fight because we've been battered so much? Not even that, but well, battered into acceptance because you know in the end that it doesn't matter how much you protest, nothing's going to happen. And we see it time and time again. I mean, we've seen it through COVID, didn't we? You know, all the parties that went on and people just sort of accepted it and it just...
Yeah.
I mean, have we lost our fight?
It hasn't happened by accident. Where the position we are now with these people in power of just shrugging our shoulders and, oh well, they're lying. Yeah, so what? You know.
Well, it's repression really, because you can't. I mean, there's nothing. If you accept that there's nothing you can do about it, that really is then you're losing the will to.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I mean, as soon as if we you see that's why we continue to fight, and that's why that's why the establishment continues to try and ignore us, because they think that they'll either tire us out or we'll get fed up. And that's why you've got to keep on fighting, because if you don't keep on fighting, they'll win, and they cannot possibly be allowed to win. They put themselves forward to represent us. They work for us, not the other way around. And not one of them, well, there might be one or two exceptions, but very few of them do the job that they're employed to do.
And so every element of the public then really can do something about this. And I know we're all trying our little bit. Julie, in the position we're in today now, what would your advice be for us to move forward in terms of taking it forward and trying to, fight back?
You mean in terms of our case?
Yeah, in this case, practically, what can anyone that's watching this now do?
Well, practically, the best thing that we would, anybody, wherever you live, especially if you live in the UK, is to write to your MP, please, and or write directly to the Home Secretary, irrelevant as to your MP, because all your MP will do is write to the Home Secretary or to the Home Office, and the Home Office, what they will do is the letter that Pete was on about earlier from one of our other supporters, that the response that his MP got will be a bog standard response that they'll send to every MP. So what I would ask is that you write directly to the Home Secretary, James Cleverly, and demand to give us what our loved ones deserve, which is a public inquiry. If they can give it to Grenfell, Grenfell only had to wait 12 months for theirs. 12 months. The Manchester Arena bombing families, God bless them. I mean, when that happened, I didn't go out for 2 days because I was crying. I couldn't function because I knew exactly what those families were going through and what they would continue to go through. But they only had to wait 18 months for their public inquiry, and look what came out of that. All the, even today, all of the fuck-ups that took place by the emergency services. Now, I know that the emergency services go into their jobs to do good, but who is giving the orders to tell them not to enter a building? But what's the point in being a fireman if you're told not to enter a building? Who's giving these instructions? Now, a lot of our supporters are firemen or ambulance men, and we've got nothing but the greatest respect for them. But who's giving the orders? I mean, when people need you the most, they need you to be in there.
And when you mention Manchester like that, I mean, just moving on a little bit now, we've seen now Manchester come together, haven't they?
Yes.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
really
Oh,
big way.
absolutely. Yeah.
And we were
Yeah.
talking, I mean, Pete and I have spoken to Tony Coton, who's been absolutely brilliant in supporting us. He's done little bits and pieces, which is great, you know. And then Kevin Ashley we had on last week,
Yeah.
and he was
Brilliant.
very vociferous about his support for justice, for the justice. You know, I mean, how, and they both talk about bringing the city together. Well, Kevin Ashley, interestingly enough, was a Birmingham City player, but he's an Aston Villa supporter. So yeah, so you know, and we let him come on, didn't we, Pete?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's this sort of mentality we have to have now, where we have to bring it together as much as we can. We need the support from everyone, don't we? And I know I'm just talking about the football fraternity, but we know we're going to get a big response from football supporters. I don't know what it is about us, but you know, we always get that support from football. And
Listen, I've got to say, and I say it all the time in our messages online and that, but without the football fraternity, you know, Birmingham City, Aston Villa, West Bromwich Albion, Millwall, Chelsea, oh my God, Halesoe in Stourbridge, which was Jude Bellingham's home ground. Bless him. What a guy. What a lovely, lovely man and his brother. I mean, his parents have done such a great job on them both, really. But without
know about football.
I know. Well, I listen to Talk Sport and because it's really funny. But if I was to watch a game, I'd be useless. Last game I went to watch, which was years ago, I didn't know where the ball was because all the digital adverts were they're really distracting. Seriously, but that's how ditzy I am. But without the football fraternity, not just in this country but abroad as well, we'd be nowhere. Honestly, we would be nowhere. And without Luddy, Michael Lutwich, and so many others. Without him initiating contact with us all them years ago, I don't know where we'd be.
And that's and of course that brings us now to how we can. I don't know, but Birmingham City have stepped up, haven't they, under their new owners?
Oh yes, absolutely, yes. So we'll have news about that in a couple of weeks. To tell people and which will hopefully we'll be able to do another Zoom and to cover. Maybe we'll get some but we'll be able to talk about that.
And the 50th memorial coming up next year. So this year, sorry.
It's this year,
isn't it? Yeah.
This year, yeah.
Yeah. So the 50th in November. So I know Birmingham City have said that, you know, they want to do something for the 50th, and I know they're quite keen to do something with Aston Villa. And from our point of view, particularly on the project, we're trying to push this now to get Villa to respond in the way that Birmingham City responded when we tried to contact them. And fair play to them, they've been great. But Becky, you've had quite a lot of ins and outs with the Villa, haven't you, over the last 5 months?
Yeah, it's been a long 5 months. To be honest, I'm still fighting them.
So
I'm still in
the
talks
contact
with
there, Beck? Who have you been
Lee Priest. I was given his contact at Villa. I've shared numerous emails with him, and all I've been getting at the moment is, I'll pass it on. Kicking, as your famous word, Steve, kicking the can down the road. But I'm hoping after a couple of weeks, my plan is to actually go that extra mile. I haven't made a plan yet of what I'm going to do. I want to wait until what the next couple of weeks bring, and then I've just got to go for the jugular now.
I think so.
Sorry.
And I think the thing as well with we have to understand, we're talking about Lee Priest being the contact, but obviously he can only do what he can do, and it may well be that he has to pass it on, but at some point it's going to reach someone that he's going to have to make a decision, aren't they? Because we've asked them, if you're not going to help, just tell us.
Yeah.
And they won't do that either, will they?
No, I think it's too much of a big issue for the people of Birmingham. And I think with the well, I'm hoping that now Blues are involved, there's going to be that added pressure onto Villa, not just from supporters, but from the Villa supporters as well, and for all the people across the city. Because let's face it, Villa are look at where they are as a club and everything like that. They're massive. We can't deny that, but they've got a massive fan base as well, and I feel that if
They're
we
much
can
higher
try and
profile
push,
than we are,
yeah,
but it shouldn't. This thing, and we've said it loads and loads of times, and it's hard to sort of embrace, is that this is, if I've got a Villa fan sitting next to me here, we're both going to be feeling the same about this.
yeah,
It's just getting other people to join in and recognise it.
Yeah.
Now, we want that same sort of action from the Villa that we've put in from the Blues. And it's just a case of everyone getting together and us
yeah,
pushing Villa, and then Villa fans themselves taking the mantle and taking it into Villa Park the way that it's been done at St Andrews. I mean, so many Blues fans are, and I know a load of Villa fans are supportive of the Justice Group. And we just need that bit there where you and I, Beck and Pete and Julie, we're not going to be able to walk into Villa Park and make the kind of demands that we've done at Blues because we don't know the
are you
situation.
sure?
But I'm sure at Villa, there are people that know where to get in, that could perhaps apply the pressure, because we want to make them feel embarrassed by not being involved in it. So instead of like being like on the outside, which the Justice Group have been for years and years, now we're sort of on the inside, aren't we? Because Blues are involved, Justice Group's involved, loads of people in Birmingham are now getting more involved, and the Villa are sort of sitting on the outside. We want to drag them in, don't we?
Yeah, I think that's what it's about. It's raising awareness as well.
Yeah. Can I just say something here, though, Steve, please? Yeah. Is that we have to differentiate when we're talking to the football clubs, that we're not asking them to go and protest outside Lloyd House. This is like, I'm not on about the supporters and whatever.
Yeah.
Feel free to come and join us, and they're brilliant. Some of the Villa fans are, 100%. What we want from the football clubs is to remember the 21. We're not asking them to shake a bucket. We're not asking them to protest outside Lloyd House or whatever. We're asking a simple act of remembrance. Now, it's not a problem for Manchester to do it. I mean, what two bigger clubs can you find than Man United? Well, Man United and Man City. You know what I mean? With their global thing, they don't think anything about putting that. They even had little emblems embroidered on their shirts.
Yeah.
Premier League and exposure. It's not a problem for them to do it. They have sort of like memorial games together, sort of like celebrity games where they raised over 80,000. Or like a bit of fun games. Brings the city together to remember people.
Do you think as well it's sort of a way,
inquiries, it's to do with remembering? That's what we want the clubs to do.
Yeah.
And at the moment, Blues have opened the door and they put the hand out and says we're willing to do stuff, but we want it to be a city-wide thing, which it should be.
Yeah.
But one are totally ignoring everything.
Absolutely.
The Aston Villa FC are ignoring everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not happening, and that's where the gripe is. It's not about the Villa fans. It's not about the justice thing. It's about them coming together with us as a city.
Yeah, and to embrace it, and I think like as the two clubs, and then the city can sort of grieve a little bit 50 years later, even as a city, and come together. It's like you just said there, Pete, and I know this is a big part of it as well. Raising £80,000, for instance, on a game like that. I mean, Julie, funds are really important, aren't they? And I know we're not shaking, I know shaking buckets, Pete, you just said we don't want people to do it, but funds are massively important.
Absolutely. Strangely enough, it's funny you should say that, because I was just trying to work out how to turn the focus round on my thing. But I've done it now.
You've gone.
Look, can you see me? Can you hear me?
No, we've got a photo of your room.
Yeah. Well, this is the warehouse in my house. This is where all the stock is. Can you see the stock?
Yeah, we
with
can
the
see
hoodies.
Yeah.
This is that's my spare room that also doubles up as the warehouse for the goodies. And I just thought I'd show that to people, because that's where we got the hoodies, and I've got the only blue t-shirts I've got left. Actually, I've only got 3 left. The blue one sold really quickly this time, and I've only got 3 left, and they're the XXX. But I've got the hoodies if anybody wants a hoodie.
And of course, anyone that wants merchandise, they can come to us as well.
Yeah. But we have it's a community account that we set up some years ago when this is when we were going to judicially review the coroner. So we had to set up a community account, because you see, something I need everyone to understand is this. When we first started campaigning, my brother and I, from the outset, we always said, we don't want an apology. People can apologise for anything, and it's meaningless. And we don't want money, because money's not going to bring them back. And we didn't want anything to do with money. But because we keep being refused legal aid, we've been pushed into a corner by the authorities where we had to go out on the streets to go begging. And then it was suggested to have T-shirts made and everything. So everything that we sell, everything that is sold, 100% of that goes into the Justice for the 21, because we're not a registered charity. Yeah. And we purposely didn't register as a charity because, again, we didn't want anything to do with money. And also, as a charity, you have to have a minimum at all times. I think it's £10,000 in the account, and you have to have paid staff. Well, I don't get paid. I do it because I choose to do it. There's no money that exchange hands except for sales of the merchandise, and all the money goes straight in to the Justice for the 21 account. And we need that in case we ever need to go to court again. But in saying that, our legal team, who are based in Belfast, have represented us now for 10 years pro bono for free. I mean, they are really incredible. But we raise the funds for just in case, like we needed it for the judicial review. And the football fraternity, I know I keep going back to you folks, but without all of you, you know, we just wouldn't be where we are. We just wouldn't. And in a matter of, I think it was 2 months, might have been 3 months, they helped us raise over £75,000.
Incredible.
I mean that's just incredible.
Yeah.
And that's from, you know, I had one fella up in Scotland. I think I don't know whether he's a Jam Tart fan or whether he was a Rangers fan. But he went into his local pub, got an empty pint glass and says, the Birmingham Pub Bombing victims' families, they need money and they need it now. Put your change in this glass. He raised £500 for us.
Brilliant.
And paid it straight in. I mean, it's just fantastic. Well, absolutely fantastic.
People are great, aren't they? And we see it all the time in our group, and we do other things, as you know, Julie, you know. And people's generosity is fantastic. Yeah. It never ceases to amaze us. And this is important now that we get the bidder involved, that we get, you know, and I know we're moving forward now we're in the 50th year, and hopefully something's going to happen so that we can all bring it together in November. And make it, you know, citywide. That would be a really big step forward, wouldn't it?
It'd be huge. I mean, my only request, and I know it's a lot to ask of people, but my only request is, would you, if you are able and if you can afford it, to write just a very short letter direct to the Home Secretary, James Cleverly, at the Home Office in London, asking for them to give us what our loved ones deserve, which is a public inquiry.
Yeah. And we can put his contact details into the project so that people have the opportunity to see it there. We can pin that bit, can't we?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
but fundraising things that's going on, and I'd like to ask Julie as well. Like, with it being the 50th year, I naively thought that it would focus a lot of people, but we've got some brilliant people. I mean, Rachel's even said that she's going to do a jump out of a plane.
Oh, yes, yeah, bless her.
Yeah, and we've got our intrepid walkers have got a cunning plan, haven't they? Ian and Glenn
I've told them not to do it. Mom goes absolutely mad about it. She says, you've got to tell them to stop. I said, Mom, I've told them, but they won't listen to me. I said, as scary as you are, Mom, they won't listen to you either. Yeah. But because they're not, Ian hasn't been very well. Glenn has been very poorly as well. And I want them to just, we want our supporters to be fit and well and not to put their bodies through so much trauma like they have when they walked from Birmingham to Liverpool and then to Belfast. But I mean, they did the Birmingham to London walk, but because Gok was following something or other, they ended up walking 170 miles. And Glenn, when they did the Birmingham to London walk, Glenn lost his toenails.
Yeah, dear.
Just raised. Oh, but what was I won't say not sad for us, but I really felt for Gok and Ian and Glenn. They raised a fantastic £5,000, but they thought that they could raise £50,000. If it was another group, they would have got £50,000. But it's just unbelievable that we don't seem to get the wide support range that, even though we've got this huge and fantastic support, not just across the UK and Ireland and in parts of America, in Australia, and even in some Scandinavian countries, we just don't seem to have the reach.
Do you think then that in terms of the fundraising, I know it's great to do these walks and that's absolutely amazing, but there's a lot of things that people could do, isn't there?
Oh,
on a
absolutely.
smaller scale. You haven't got to go walking 100 miles. You can do things in your local community that perhaps you haven't done before and do them on a big scale and then get the money into the justice group,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, listen.
Sorry. Sorry. Yeah. Right. So, whilst we're mentioning unbelievable feats, we can't forget old Crazy Horse over in the south of France doing his.
I was actually saving him till last. So strangely enough, he was going to be my last request.
Yeah.
Crazy Horse, because Andrew Davies is swimming. He has promised to swim. How many kilometres was it?
God,
he's going to swim.
Far too many.
Yeah, something like 180 kilometres in the Atlantic. Not all in one go, over different periods of time. And we've never met this fella. We've never met Andrew. We got to know about him through Peace, and he was so enamoured by what Pete had to say that he's promised to do this and help us raise funds, and we've got a GoFundMe page for it. But we haven't promoted it that much because it's still too cold for him to swim at the moment. But once he starts swimming, we're going to start to push that. But we don't want anyone to ever give give us anything if they can't afford it. Because one of the things that were, especially for us, is you know, a lot of our supporters have said, why don't you come and collect more often outside Aston Villa and outside Birmingham City, especially last year and the year before. And we said we don't want to do it because of the standard of living and the price of everything going up, and we don't want to be taking money off people that can probably ill afford to feed themselves, let alone give us money. So we are very reluctant. I've got to say, we're very reluctant collectors, but also it's very difficult for us, you know, to stand there with a bucket, you know, asking people for money to help you to fight for justice for your sister and for 20 other innocents. And for instance, my sister can't do it because my sister's not very well. She's got lots of illnesses, and a lot of the other family members can't do, of the other families can't do it because they've got their own illnesses. So and some of them just can't face doing it. It's just too emotionally fraught for them, and I don't think people understand that. But it is very, I mean, even when I do it, it's very difficult. Yeah. But having, you know, you lot around like Peter and Beck and Colin and Paul and Seth and Dave and so many others, Gaz. I mean, so many others who help us. I mean, that gives me a strength, and that gives me the will to carry on and the strength to carry on. But it is, I've got to tell you, standing there with a bucket is the hardest thing in the world to do.
Yeah, I can see, you know, it has to be. But I think perhaps what we could do is over the next, say, week or so, have a look at seeing, you know, I will do it to the group to see if people are interested in getting some little projects together locally.
I just have to mention, sorry, like, I mean, we have got a little project going on that we've decided to do, which is sort of like a darts and pool competitions and whatever. Now, my whole idea when I first started to moot the idea, like, it's like we've got supporters from all over the country, and as well as sort of like Scotland and whatever. Now, what would be more simple than going down to the pub and say for the price of a pint or a half in London, you know, for £5, just to have a game of darts or a game of pool in a pub. It's not that difficult, is it? And it's raising well, my idea was that it would raise a lot of money with something that we can all do. Not all of us can walk down to London and back, but I'm sure we could all go down the pub and have a chuck a dart at a wall or something like that. The darts and pool is the excuse just to get a fiver. Now, a fiver is the cost of a pint. It's not asking the world. No. Now, we've got one arranged for the
Sunday, April the 21st.
April the 21st at the Roost. There's an added bonus that there's going to be a karaoke, and Julie said she's going to sing.
Listen, if I sing, it will rain. I'm telling you.
I didn't want to drop that on you, Julie. No, but the Roost have been absolutely wonderful.
They have.
I'm sure any pub would just, you know, well, of course, yeah, just come in and have a game of pool and the darts. All the stipulation is just say, well, drop £5 in the bucket. It's not a difficult thing to do.
It would be dead easy to roll that out, wouldn't it? You know, yeah. So if we rolled that out to the group piece, I've seen you've got a few little sort of things that you've done. You know, all they would have to do really is say, right, well, my local is this, and we'll try it there. And if we had that going on all around Brum, a dead easy thing to do.
Yeah. Now the Drake's Drum, Neil Dandy and the Villa lot sort of thing, they've decided to like organise a bowls competition you know, anyone can come along for a game of bowls. I mean, you got to say, haven't you, Julie? That Drake's drum are
Oh,
absolutely
they've been absolutely superb. Their football team years ago paid to have our logo on their team kit.
It's brilliant.
It was just unbelievable. It was just fun, and we went to watch them play. It was fantastic. It was a lovely day as well. It was absolutely fantastic. Yeah. I'm hoping our mum hasn't been well again, but I'm hoping that she might come along to the roost with me on that Sunday. Nice, but whatever you do, don't give her a drink. God.
Jesus. I'll put something. Well, Becca, I'll put something in the group, Pete, to try and. That's a great idea to try and roll that out a little bit. And
it's a simple thing.
And we're going to keep hammering away at the villa. But what I will do is I'm going to send. I was just wondering. I'll have a chat with you, Pete, when we finished, or tomorrow or something, and we might just do perhaps the four of us a little video to send to the villa.
Yeah,
wouldn't be impossible.
Very good idea. Actually, you know, it might be. Oh no, I'll tell you that after. I was going to say also for anyone who's going to the game this Saturday, Pete and Paul and Seth and Colin, I think, will be outside the BCFC shop collecting. So if you go into the game, if you're watching this and you go into the game, just please come and say hello. We're not asking you to drop in any money. Just come and say hello. Say you've watched the BCFC project, and it'd be lovely to meet you. And on behalf of all the families, I'd like to say thank you very much to Steve, to Beck. God bless her. She's a little star. She might sound quiet, but you don't want to cross her. And the fantastic Peter Hannon as well. And for all of you out there who are listening and support us, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I can't thank you enough. You will never, ever know how important you are to keeping us sane and giving us the strength to carry on behalf of our loved ones. Seriously.
And a lot of people, you know, Julie, you're an inspiration to a lot of people as well. You must know that yourself. You know, we see you getting choked up and upset about these things 49 years later. You know, we know how your heart must be breaking, you know, and to carry on the way you've carried on, and to have, you know, such an intelligent woman and such a lovely person, and to be able to put out the way you feel, the way you do, you know, we can't lose on this. We've just got to push it a little bit further, I think. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very kind. That means a lot. Thank you. But you see, we couldn't do it without you, without all of you out there.
Well, we're all together in this. So, you know, football family as well as like Birmingham itself. So we can try and extend this a little bit out into Brum rather than just be a football thing. And what I suggest we might do perhaps in about a week or 10 days is get together again and have a little chat. And do a similar thing. And also we'll do a video, and we're going to aim like this, a little YouTube video, and we're going to aim it at the villa, and we'll send it to the villa, and we'll put it onto the project site, and we'll see if we can get any villa groups to put it out there as well. It's not going to be Birmingham City and Villa. It's going to be what we want to do for Justice for the 21. And let's try and get into Aston Villa now. And any Villa fans out there now, give us your backing. Back us and join Blues. It doesn't matter who. It's nothing to do with football. This is about us all getting together and helping what is a cause that should never have to be helped, really, should it? You know.
Yeah, really. But what might be an idea is if we invite a couple of Villa fans, of our supporters, to come on and participate, and then that way it adds weight to the points of a message to Villa. After your last message about it, an awful lot of our Villa supporters did write to Aston Villa because they sent me messages actually they sent me copies of the emails that they sent.
Yeah.
Bless them.
And they can't keep ignoring us. Yeah, you know, everyone, we're all in this together, and we just got to just push it on a little bit now, haven't we? Because it's been a little bit sort of stagnant in terms of, like Beck's been banging the door down at the Villa, and we've been politely knocking the door. What we need to do now is try and bang it down a little bit, because they're not opening it, are they? Yeah, that's what it needs is to get the foot in the door like we did at Blues, and then people then understand that this isn't threat, it's not political, it's nothing other than recognising some dead people at the moment. That's all we want.
Yeah.
So it's been great having a chat. We've run on probably a little bit longer than we planned, but that's the way it goes when we all get talking. So Julie, absolutely fantastic to see you again, and you're looking well, and you're so switched on and clever. I think you make all of us look at you and think, my God,
makeup. It's all makeup. I need a mask.
Have you got Fritz there?
Of course I have.
Oh.
He's always there.
I wondered where he was.
He's hiding. Yeah.
Pete, it's great, mate. Having you to, because you're such a wealth of knowledge with this as well. I mean, you've got that same sort of switched on thing about this that you have about Blues. You're very knowledgeable about it. You remember things, and you're an inspiration to people the way that you put yourself forward. Because I've often thought to myself, Pete, I like to think that I'm dedicated to the justice thing, but I'm not. Nothing like, I look at you, and to you sometimes it's always the first thing that comes into your focus, and I really admire you for that. I really do. It's just how switched on you are to it. You should be really proud of yourself, mate. You work really hard at this.
Well,
he does.
Thank you, Steve. But there's a lot more than me. Trust me. And I mean, I hope you get well soon, Lud, because he's been my inspiration.
Yeah, I heard he's been ill, and we were going to do a podcast with him, wasn't we? And perhaps hopefully at some point.
Yeah. Well, hopefully in the future, we just got to let him rest and recuperate and regain his strength. Yeah. But Beck, thank you so much for everything that you keep doing, all of the hours and the typing and the contacts that you do. Bless you. And Steve, for everything that you do. And please, will you send our and my personal thanks to the ex-players who have thrown their weight behind our campaign too, please. And Pete, you're a star. Yeah, Pete, you've got to try and find those messages that you wrote when we were in court to do with the alleged COVID breaches, and send them to Steve, because they were hilarious.
I think I might have seen a few, but you got to find them, Pete, because
you got to find them, Pete, because they honestly they were hilarious.
I would like to be with him at some time. I'd like to be with him at some point when he's drunk, because I've heard a lot about him when he's drunk.
Oh, really? I don't drink, so
I don't anymore, mate. You know that.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, thanks so much. I'm going to put this out. I'll be putting this out tomorrow evening. Okay. So we'll put it out like 6-ish UK time, and then we'll just keep bumping it and bumping it. We'll do the thing with the Villa. We'll do another one of these in a couple of weeks, and all of us just focus, get it sorted.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Take care.
Brilliant.
Bye.
Thank you.